If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? And welcome to another edition of the Ron and Don Show. And we are in we got a brand new sponsor. What studios are we in?
Well, I guess we're in the Team Lisa with a Y studios here. And what's up, Ron and Don Nation?
Yeah. In fact, if you don't know who Team Lisa is, who is Team Lisa?
Yeah, a mortgage broker that we've been working with. And we are actually, the spot today is going to be about refinancing. And everyone's like, oh, when should I refinance? How do I know when I need to refinance? She lays out a very simple strategy on when you can refinance and put hundreds of dollars into your pocket every single month.
Yeah, a lot of people know Mitch. Mitch doesn't work in the financing industry anymore. I think he is living somewhere in Acapulco with millions of dollars. I think he must have won the lottery. So anyway, he's out of the business, so you can't switch to Mitch anymore. That's why we have Lisa with a Y. And whether you're refinancing or you're thinking about buying a home for the first time, she is someone great to speak with. And the thing that I love, unlike the big banks, they kind of work, 8 to 5, 9 to 4. They answer the phone in the evening. And a lot of times when you're trying to put a real estate deal together, you need someone that answers the phone on the weekend. They man the phones all weekend. And there's not a lot of mortgage brokers out there that do.
Yeah, we have a deal that's closing this week. And I called her this morning at like 8 a.m. and she just picked up the phone and helped me out right away.
Yeah, Lisa with a Y. And if you want to connect with her, more information coming up here in our commercial break here. So let's get to tonight's Top 5 at 5.
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5.
5. All right, you see us wearing our Lincoln sweatshirts. We're going to talk about Lincoln High School and a big rally coming up this weekend because just like Cleveland, they haven't got the field built there yet. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll talk about it here at the end of the Top 5 at 5. But here in the beginning, Ron, what is going on here? Because Tucker Carlson no longer, it seems like he's no longer going to be visiting the White House. And it seems like a lot of people within the MAGA movement have moved on, but they haven't moved on from conspiracy, because now the new conspiracy that they're pushing is that him getting shot a couple times or shot at, it must have been some kind of setup. Maybe the White House was in on it. So I thought finally people came, could you just say, hey, you know what? The whole conspiracy thing that got us in trouble in the first place, and that's why we currently have the president that we have. We're moving on from the conspiracy stuff, but it seems like we're going from one conspiracy now into the other conspiracy. And the problem is, last time I checked, is we have destroyed a Navy and destroyed a country that seems to be destroying the world's economy. So who's really got destroyed here?
This has been super interesting to follow. That you're right. There are a lot of people that are jumping ship from the MAGA movement. Marjorie Taylor Greene is chief among them.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that it was the unilateral war declaration that Donald Trump did on Iran, that was the straw that broke the camel back. Like the conspiracy theories didn't do it. The January 6th thing didn't do it. You had the infidelities didn't do it.
Jeffrey Epstein.
The Epstein files hadn't done it. The paying off porn stars didn't do it. There was
making billions of dollars on crypto.
Yeah, crypto stuff didn't do it.
Lots of self-serving.
The interactions with all the bots on Russia didn't do it. The ICE invasions to American countries didn't do it. Like in prison,
the killing of American citizens.
Killings of American citizens, like taking 4-year-olds away from their parents as bait, didn't do it. And yet, when it trickled down to, I need to fill up my F-250 dually, and put a full lead of diesel in this truck, and diesel is at $7 a gallon. That's what finally did it. So I guess
healthcare didn't even do it.
Healthcare didn't do it. Like there was many dominoes, and maybe it's the accumulation of all these dominoes.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to be traveling to a very red state in a couple days, and I'm going to try to not be the guy that just like spikes the football. I hope to engage in a couple conversations though and see what the temperature is, because I'm genuinely interested, just as a sociology perspective, of how people have come at this. I'm 100% baffled at what's going on right now. And actually, remember we had Perry on a couple weeks ago here on the Ron and Don Show, and he works in wealth management. We were talking yesterday, just as a phone call, and I was like, do you understand what's going on with the stock market? So we'll have a ceasefire end, and the market gapped up 85 points. And then another thing will happen, and it'll come down a little bit. Like, we're at all-time highs right now. The energy sector is in shambles. We're still going to have a backlog. Gas prices are not going down anytime soon, because when the Strait of Hormuz ended, that stopped any new shipments.
We're not adding jobs, that's for sure.
We're not adding jobs. And the stock market continues. It's going up again today. So you can just say ceasefire, even though it's not a real ceasefire, and the markets jump up. It's actually killing me in a couple positions I have, because I'm like, clearly everyone is going to see that this is smoke and mirrors, and that we can't be trusted on anything that is happening, and the markets are going to respond and price in like, oh yeah, energy's a big deal, gas prices are a big deal, groceries a big, fertilizer, big deal. All the farmers that are going, I don't even know if I can afford to keep my farm because fertilizer's gone up so much that will make the S&P 500 go down, but it hasn't. It's defied all logic. People that I follow that have been watching markets for 30, 40 years are like, I've never seen anything like this, where even if you go back to the crash of 89, it's like there was some logic to it. If you went to an unprompted war, the markets would go down. And now we're in some weird opposite land where people are just looking at the same information, and it doesn't matter anymore.
How much of that are the 13 AI companies, though, that people are just pumping right now? Because there are a lot of people out there that have been in tech that are looking to put their money somewhere. And if they're not going to put their money on Main Street in real estate, then they want to put their money on Wall Street, and they want to invest. So don't some of them look at the volatility and go, wow, this thing clicked down to 45. Now it's launching back up to 50. Maybe that'll go up and down a couple more times and be volatile enough where I have an opportunity to jump in here, pump, dump, make some money.
I think there's pumping and dumping going on for sure, but in a normal, I'm not a financial analyst, but in normal times, you do not see gap ups in the face of the news that we have right now. If you remember,
what's a gap up?
The gap up means that, like, you'll be at, let's just say the stock market, the S&P 500 is at 7,000. And then a news event happens when the market's closed. So on the West Coast, the market's closed at 1 p.m. So then some news event happens where you'll say, hey, we're going to end a civilization. We're going to bomb a civilization back into the Stone Age where they belong. Normally, on the next trading day, you would see a gap down, meaning that the markets, when it rolls through Europe and Japan and China and all the other, Australia, all the other markets that are trading on their business hours, will drive the numbers down. And so you open the next day and it might be jump down 20 points or 30 points or 50 points. And then the opposite can happen, where you'll have a news event. Let's say you're at 7,000, and then the Fed comes out and says, hey, we're going to lower interest rates. Well, then it might gap up the next day. That makes sense. Those two scenarios make sense. Interest rates are going to go down, so you open the next day and it gaps up 50 points. It's like, okay, that makes sense. It was good news for traders. In this scenario, you'll have a thing where we're at 7,000 and we'll say the peace agreement has failed. And like a new ship has been captured, and now we're blockading the Strait of Hormuz, and it still gaps up. So any other time that I've been following trading, which is over a decade, and people that I've talked to that are doing it multiple decades, they're like, yeah, it should have gapped down, but it gapped up.
Yep.
And we don't understand why that is. Like there are legit experts are like, I don't know what's happening. It is this weird, bizarre world. And I think the pumping and dumping doesn't account for the trillions of dollars that are moving through the stock market. So something else is happening, but it's very unusual.
How much inside trading do you think is going on? The White House put out
a lot.
A warning to people in the White House the other day to pay attention to insider trading and to not do it. Why would you have to put that warning out?
Because people are doing, they do have stuff where it's like, if you know that Jared Kushner is not doing well with the vice president in the negotiations, you can put a trade in, and then when Trump says something outlandish to reverse the markets, you'll be a profit.
You look at Pelosi, though. I think at one point she was worth $120 million, but she's always been in politics, and you're like, how'd you come up with $120 million?
Listen, Democrats do it, Republicans do it. They vote the laws into being that allow them to do it. So I think
and then they use the money. Whenever you see someone walk away from politics, they disappear and then they show up again with their lobby hat on, and they're lobbyists now.
That's true. But what is happening in this?
And they make a shizload of money when it comes to lobbying. And I think a lot of the insider trading and a lot of the insider information they get is from being lobbied so hard as well.
True. But from my vantage point, these last couple of weeks have been inexplicable. And it's not just insider trading, like something weird has happened, and I don't know if we know what it means.
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5.
Number 2.
All right, I want to thank everyone that wished myself and my son a happy birthday. We just went up to Canada, and we drove the old Eurovan up there, the Eurovan camper. And I said, you know what I'm going to let you do is I'm going to let you need some interstate time, because now that he has his birthday, he can actually go get his license. So he's completed driving school, and now he has to go to the DOL. He has to take his written test, his driving test. We got to work a little more on parallel parking.
Parking is hard, especially in that van.
So he was a little worried about driving the van, so I put him in the van, and I made sure that we got out of the city, and he jumped in, and he went, ooh. This thing, check this out. Whoever said this about a Volkswagen Eurovan? This thing, Dad, has some balls.
Would you put a Porsche engine in there?
This thing has some balls. No, it's a 2002, and it's a 24 valve. It's fuel injected. It does have some balls. When you drive it, it's kind of surprising. He is behind the wheel 12, 13 minutes, and then we look over to the right. Traffic is really backed up. There's state troopers sitting over there. And somebody had completely rolled a car. It looked like it was a one-car accident. And then it looks like they got out of the car and they were running in the woods.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the video, but I took a video of him driving, and then I pointed toward the car, and I just said, don't do that.
How's his driving?
Yeah. You know what? He's very cautious. He's very good driver. Very good.
You didn't let him drive out in international driving.
Well, then we got up to Bellingham. Bellingham's closed because they had another landslide there. So they take you off the interstate to a stop sign. How long do you think it took to get through Bellingham off of I-5 heading up to Canada?
Oh, at least an hour.
That added a couple hours to the trip. So then we got to the border, and the gentleman at the border wasn't having it. The first question that he asked me is,
you're driving at this point.
Yeah, because at
the Peace Arch.
Because we're gonna have to. Yeah, so we have the dog in the car, and so we get there and we pull in, and usually the Canadians are really nice to you, and then the Americans on the way back are kind of right. They kind of give you the hard time. Completely different. So the guy at the Canadian border wanted to know why I was coming. So I said, well, it's our birthday week. You can see that on our passports, and then he wanted to know last time I was in Canada. So I said, well, it's been decades. He was really bothered that I hadn't been to Canada in a while.
That's a good point. You should be in Canada more.
So he started out. He's like, well, why haven't you been to Canada? Well, I said, that's a good point. I do love the beer. I do love a Labatt's Blue. Nothing. And I said, well, I've been working in radio, and I travel around the U.S. a lot, and I just haven't been able to get up here. And it didn't seem like he really believed me. And then he saw Charlie in the back, and he said, what's going on back there? And I said, well, that's Charlie the Doodle. And he said, well, does he have all his shots? And I said, yeah, he has all his shots. He said, how do you know? I said, because I took him to get his shots. And he goes, can you prove it? I said, yeah, we could call the doctor that gave him the shots, and we could, and I said, I can open up my phone right now, and I can show you. The guy before me was sitting there for almost an hour, it seemed, and I wonder why he was there for so long. Hey,
but in fairness to the Canadians, do you blame them for being suspicious of Americans right now?
No, not at all, not at all. So anyway, we talked a little bit about Charlie Tucker. Then he was really interested in wanting to know if I had tobacco or if I had guns or any drugs in the car. And I said, do people really that have tobacco, guns, and drugs in the car, do they say, yeah, I got some tobacco, guns, and drugs in the car? I said, I find that to be highly unlikely.
You're getting into smart aleck mode with the customs?
Yeah, I am.
That's not
I'm
smart.
not in Canada yet. I'm still in the States. Right?
But he can make your life miserable.
Well, he could, and so I'm thinking, let's just pull over in the lane and get it. Because I told Gunner, I said, on a bus like this, usually they pull you over in the lane and they're going to go through. And I said, the other thing is the reason he's talking to us for so long, they're probably looking at things with cameras and doing all that stuff. Just kind of see what's up.
You guys are sketchy looking.
So anyway, then he wanted to know where we were going to go. So I kind of explained where we were going to go. He wanted to know how long we were going to stay. It seemed like he wasn't really buying the birthday thing, but I did ask him to look at our passports because both our birthdays were on there. And then he was really interested when we were leaving. Like when are you out of here, right?
Get out.
Yeah. So then I said, as I was leaving, I said, this is one of the reasons why I haven't come back to Canada very much. You guys aren't very nice at the border. And then I drove on. So anyway, we went up to Canada. I have to say, people in Canada... Let me ask this question. Are we just nicer when we travel? Because Gunnar and I were so blown away everywhere we went, whether it was in a hotel, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a coffee shop. We stopped at the Nike store up in Vancouver because we went to Vancouver and then we went up to Whistler. Everywhere we went, people were so incredible. And then also you hear so many different languages and accents because Canada is the Commonwealth. You have a lot of people that come over there from the UK, lots of people there from Australia that work up in Whistler.
That's tons of Aussies.
Yeah, so they come there and they say before the age of 35, you can travel around kind of through the Commonwealth and work in the Commonwealth, and it's very, very easy to get what they would
a visa.
Yeah, get a visa or get a green card to do that. And Gunnar saw a lot of these young people that are 18, 19, 20 years old working up at Whistler. And he's like, man, that would be really fun to do. And I'm like, yeah, the world totally opens up. So we went up there, had a birthday.
Yes, people are nicer in Canada.
Are they nicer?
Yes. That's what they're known for.
They were so nice.
They're known for being nice.
And then I kept apologizing for us.
You should.
They didn't want me to.
You should.
They're like, you know what? One guy told me he was a doorman. He's been a doorman at this hotel for like 30 years. And he found out that we were going to come back up because Foo Fighters are going to be there in Vancouver. So you're going to come with us. So and Gunnar will probably drive us this time. Hopefully we don't get the same guy at the border. He might not let us in, especially when they see how long your hair is. But he was just saying we take a long view of Americans in America. And he said, and we don't look at America through the eyes of the politics. He said we look at America through the eyes of the people, and in the same way that I have felt the pain in my business of Canadians not coming here. Go to a Toronto game, and it was different during the playoffs. But if you went during the year, usually that stadium is full of Toronto fans. It's not usually for the soccer games that are coming up. You see a lot of Canadians come down. They're not like. My rentals are always full of Canadians. I don't have any. So I asked these guys up in Whistler and Vancouver, and they said you are not seeing a lot of Americans come up there right now, and it's really killing their business, which I find to be very interesting because when you talk to people down in Seattle that have businesses like I do, they will say the same thing. What do you think that is?
I think because we talked about annexing Canada.
Yeah,
like it makes complete sense to me. It's like. For whatever reason, we've been in alienating all our allies mode and sucking up to the dictators in the world. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Then we were coming back, and there's a sign that said trucks and RVs to the right. So I went to the right, and I pulled in there, and I'm with a bunch of semis in there, and I'm because the guy is sitting way up in the booth because it's a semi booth. So I'm sitting way down below the semi booth. So I have to look up at him. He goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, it said if you're an RV or a truck to pull in here." He goes, "You're not an RV." I go, "Yeah, technically I am. It's a converted." So I start defending the fact that I'm in an RV. And he's trying to convince me that it's not. So I have to pull out the registration and I hand it up to him, and he looks at it and he said, "Damn it, you're right." He goes, "That's an RV." He goes, "You don't have any drugs, girls in there, do you?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Go on."
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
Number 3.
And then when we got down in Seattle, I made my son drive into Seattle in the bus. That really shook him up a little bit.
Good.
Shook him up a little bit.
Need some experience.
Shook him up a little bit. Let's see what story number 3 is here real quick. Mike Vrabel. What are your what's your take on the coach? He came out yesterday and said, "Hey, had to make some apologies to my family."
Frame up the story real quick.
You frame up the story.
So Mike Vrabel is the former New England Patriot. He won 3 Super Bowls as a player. Then he became a head football coach, worked for Tennessee Titans for a while, and then he was back in New England. And he was the coach last year in the Super Bowl on the other side of the field against the Seahawks. So very accomplished player, defensive side of the ball, very accomplished coach, and he's a married man. So they were doing some meeting. The NFL was having meetings in Arizona leading up to the draft. And so all of the head coaches, all the executives are down in Arizona. And so covering this story is a reporter for The Atlantic that happens to be a woman who is also married. And so the NFL meetings are happening in Phoenix. So the New York Daily News, I believe, hired a photographer with a very long photo lens to follow around Mike Vrabel.
That's not what I heard. Is this new?
No, I'm pretty sure it was the New York Daily News.
Someone told me
it might have been a freelancer.
That someone was a freelance.
Could have been a freelancer.
Took those pictures, is not a professional photographer. That's why the pictures could have been better and they weren't.
Okay, maybe it was.
Didn't really follow up on the story and didn't look through the windows or do it. So and they had been shopping the pictures for the past couple weeks. And so and then who was it? TMZ that bought them?
It's either TMZ or the New York Daily News.
Yeah, somebody.
So in Sedona, Arizona, which is about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half outside of Phoenix.
Beautiful.
Has a lot of resorts and a lot of energy.
I got married there one day for 33 days.
It was. It's a very beautiful place.
Church on the Rock. You were there.
And so at a resort in Sedona, right before these meetings are supposed to happen, the photos drop of Vrabel, who is married, in a hot tub with a Atlantic reporter who's also married, and they were seen sort of holding hands, hugging.
Interlocking hands.
But like nothing, there was no kissing or inebriation or anything going on. It was 2 people in a hot tub, and these photos drop.
And it's very natural, and I love all the late night hosts that would have people come on, and they would sit there with them and interlock hands while they were talking to them. That was awesome.
And it
became a huge thing on the internet.
So I believe her name is it Diana Rossi or something Rossi?
Rossini.
She she ended up resigning from her post as a reporter for The Atlantic and an NFL reporter for that outlet. Vrabel has not retired, but he went to the podium yesterday and he talked about having thanking the media for giving him some time to talk to his players and also talk to his family members and have some uncomfortable conversations.
And then I thought this was really nice. Robert Kraft,
the owner of the Patriots.
Yeah. He said, "You know what? I know you've been under a lot of pressure lately. Let's go get a couple massages."
Wow.
Tell him that story.
I don't know. I want to tell that story. So
no, because Robert Kraft got caught
getting a little bit more than a Swedish massage.
A little bit more than a massage.
So here's the thing. What people do in a hot tub in Sedona.
Let's go get a massage. Hey, as long as there's chlorine, I don't care.
It's 2 adults. People have affairs.
This is what I don't get.
It's not a minor. There's nothing illegal about it.
Every NFL fan out there is acting like he has a power position over her. This is a TV show. The NFL is a TV show. It's a TV show. I don't think he has any kind of power over her, and I don't know what kind of power she has over him, but it's a TV show. And the thing is, Mike Vrabel gets to go on with his life and keep coaching, and she, on the other hand, is forced to resign. That makes me sick to my stomach that she felt like she was forced to resign. If she wants to be in a hot tub with a grown-ass man in Sedona, Arizona, interlocking hands, then that's a choice that she made and a choice that he made. That's between them. That's not between all of us. And I don't think she should have had to walk away from writing for the Atlantic, and I don't think that he should have. I'm telling you, just working in the NFL, working for the Cowboys, working for the Raiders, and I won't say anything about the Seahawks, although I know a lot about the Seahawks. When we worked for the Raiders, the majority of everyone on that team was cheating on their wife, and we could see that when we traveled with the team on the team plane. The majority of the team, we were there in a trailer in Arizona, not in Arizona, in California, and we were the Ticket 1050 Raiders radio. You would see a yellow school bus pull up at night, a training camp, and these beautiful women would get out. And then you'd see the same bus pull up early in the morning at 6 a.m. and all the women would get back in the bus and all the players were going back out. What do you think was going on there? What do you think was going on when all the players said goodbye to their wives and their kids on the tarmac? This is before 9/11, and you could kiss and drive right to the plane. They'd all get on the plane, and then they would fly to wherever they were going. I remember one time we came here to Seattle, and then there's beautiful women standing up in the lobby of the hotel that they were in. They all have cards, and they hand the cards to the player, and then when the player sees the woman he wants to sleep with, he takes the card, he hands it to a party coordinator, and then there's parties that are coordinated in the hotel not to leave the hotel because they don't want players going out and getting in trouble. It's one of the reasons why they keep the parties in the hotel. You never see, after B.J. Robinson, I call him, after Eugene Robinson, used to play for the Seahawks, got in trouble with Atlanta during a game, Super Bowl week. They keep those guys on a tether.
Dallas Cowboys
it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. They just control it, and everyone knows. So
Dallas Cowboys had a house outside of training camp
the White House.
where you could go to be away from your family.
Oh, there's a Netflix special on it, and all the players talk about it, and all the women that were in that house. So anyway, there is so much of that kind of behavior that is going on within the NFL, and for her to have to quit her job over it, I think is goddamn ridiculous. All right, story 4.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
Number 4.
All right, story just came out about best burgers in America. What is the best burger in America, and what is the best burger in Seattle right now? What do you think?
Well, this is one of those ones only for fast food.
Yeah.
So they're putting Five Guys at the top. Five Guys has priced itself out of fast food in my mind.
It's so expensive.
Like Five Guys might as well be a sit-down restaurant.
I went in there to get a burger,
burgers.
fry, and a shake for my son. I told you this a couple months ago after a game. And the total without a tip was $38 for a burger, a fry, and a shake.
So,
and it wasn't delivered. I went in and got it. It was at their Bellevue
Let me
location.
pivot because
But their salts are super. The fries are super salty. I like a super salty fry.
Their fries are good. The burgers are good.
And I like dipping the fry in the chocolate shake.
So let me just say this because I did for the first time last night. I bought a new little propane grill. For
so you're
going
to say the best hamburgers are at your house?
Have you ever made the Oklahoma smash burger at home?
No.
So I was like, you know what? I'm a pretty good griller. I like a good smash burger. I've never made a smash burger.
Did you get a smasher?
I was like, I am going to do the Oklahoma. It has to be the Oklahoma style.
What makes it Oklahoma? Is it
Oklahoma
the onions?
style.
Is it the onions and the smash?
You get Vidalia onion. Slice it as thin as you can. I used a mandolin to get this super thin onions. And then you get your beef. I was trying to go Wagyu, but I couldn't find it, so I just got a regular 80-20. And I was like, and I watched a couple videos on this, and it could not. I thought it was going to be difficult to get a really good smash burger. Brioche bun. I was between potato roll and brioche. I went brioche bun.
Love brioche.
Put some butter on there.
It really holds the relish too. The brioche holds the relish.
I was going old school. No embellishments yet on my first go round. Got my grill up to 450, 500. You take a quarter pound of meat and a ball.
Big green egg or
Nope,
regular?
this is the propane one.
Propane.
Big green on the griddle. I got a smasher.
You're on a griddle.
I'm on the griddle.
Griddle on a grill.
Griddle on the propane. I got the Cuisinart smasher,
Yeah.
and I got my metal deal. So you get this. It could not be simpler. Vidalia onion,
Yep.
80-20 beef,
Got it.
brioche bun,
Got some fat in there. Yep.
American cheese.
Okay.
And the rubbery individually wrapped singles.
Yep.
Get out of here with the cheddar. I don't need Beechers. I don't need you need American cheese.
No bacon.
No, I'm just going standard right now.
Standard.
You gotta learn the rules before you can break the rules.
Avocado.
I was like nervous about this. I got my onions ready. You put that. If you want to get fancy, you can put a little mustard down on the grill before you put your meat in there.
Yep.
But so meat goes down. Onion, salt, just salt. No pepper, no fancy rubs. Salt only. You put your onions on top of that, and then you smash. Smash. Put a little oil on your smasher. Smash that thing down. I went for a medium vigorous smash. So I did 2 smashes, onions on there, and you walk away.
What if you did 3 smashes? Too many smash?
If your
can you smash too much?
If your griddle is big enough to handle 3 patties, my griddle only handles 2 patties.
Okay.
So you want to get that thin. Walk away. Step away.
That's
Don't
it.
fiddle.
Over.
Do not fiddle with your smash.
Don't do it.
Step away.
Yep.
You're going to want to fiddle. Don't do it. Onions are going to start to sizzle, get a little brown. You're sitting there. You're going to be tempted to, you know what? I'm going to scooch this around a little bit. Don't scooch. Let the burger smash.
Yep.
So then when you're ready to flip, please have your cheese ready on the side. Have your buns toasted. Toasty buns, cheese ready. You don't have time to walk around the
What's
kitchen.
your life partner doing while you're doing this?
Oh, she loves a smash burger. She was
I-
ready to roll.
I'm thinking she's sitting back having a margarita.
No, we had pina coladas.
Pina coladas. Okay.
And so flip it over,
Yep.
gather your onions, and flip.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese goes on there. And then if you're real traditional, you put your bun, both sides of the bun, on top of the burger to steam. And now you shut your door, let the cheese melt.
That's it.
Again, no fiddling.
No fiddle.
My dad was like a constant flipper.
Yeah.
He's fiddling. You flip the burger a lot.
You overcook if you flip too much.
You're flipping it around too much.
I don't overflip anymore.
Well, you used to.
I didn't last night.
You used to roll your
much.
hot dogs around and flip.
Yeah, too much
so,
flipping.
boom, you take it off. No ketchup, no relish, no mayonnaise, no special sauce. It is 2 slices of cheese with the mustard.
And the mustard.
And the onions are baked in.
You just said no mustard.
You can do a little mustard. And
said
while
no-
you're
you
cooking.
just said no mustard.
While you're cooking.
You're fiddling.
No, while you're cooking.
Fiddling with the mustard.
And I got to say, for home-cooked burger,
Yeah.
it's a game changer. It's
the best one.
I thought it was going to be super difficult.
What do you think made it so great? Was it the onions?
I don't know. It's just the smash burger concept. It's a little crunchy on the outside.
The crunch is good.
It's and now I can embellish. Now I could do some mushrooms. Now I could do a avocado. Now I could do a little iceberg lettuce. Now I could do some ketchup. But just you want to learn the rules before you break the rules.
My favorite smash, in fact,
Smash it?
The bar burned down. Yeah, I was at the bottom of my hill. Now they moved that trailer over into Fremont. Everybody knows about it, and there's always a line. And those guys, they're only there, I think, 3 days a week. And they make like 120 smashes, and when they're done, they just leave.
Good for
when
them.
So sometimes they made their money in like 2.5 hours at the bar. So they because people come outside the bar and they eat the food and then they leave. But those smashes are really good. We get some giddy ups once in a while, but I can't really. Those are good, but gassy.
Yeah.
Was their smash gassy?
No, so far no.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Back 5.
Number 5.
All right, number 5 coming up here. Last year, my son was playing freshman and sophomore football, and so I volunteered with the team, and I've run some cameras
At Lincoln High School.
At Lincoln High School, and we have a new coach there by the name of Coach Packard. We've had actually 3 new coaches, I think, in the last 4 years. Because the interesting thing about Lincoln is we don't have a field, right? So we have 2,000 kids. We're the biggest high school in Seattle. We don't have a field. Similar thing happened in Cleveland, and you guys remember we all got involved and we got that field built.
Can I ask some questions because you're
and then I got a letter we're going to read, and then Coach Packard's going to stop by.
And brief answers on this because I think you're too close to it and you don't. But let's give a little context. In the city of Seattle, for athletics, what is the standard issue for schools? So if I don't have kids or I just moved here and I'm going to a high school, what is the standard issue thing for a high school?
What do you mean the standard issue?
So I go to Garfield High School. When I go to that campus, what is expected if I'm a parent, if I'm a student? What is the standard issue? What has been funded? What should I see at that school?
Well, the great thing about Garfield, if you walk through there, and they rebuilt the school, from the old school, they took all the murals out from the civil rights movement, which was very powerful at Garfield, and it still is. And they kept all those murals, and when they built the new school, they reinstalled all those murals on the inside. So when you walk through that school, I used to volunteer with Coach Joey Thomas, who's at Ballard, and then he ended up at Garfield. He was the head football coach there. He actually helped us get the field built at Cleveland, and now he's actually coaching at the University of Nevada.
I'm just trying to get context for people that are not familiar with high schools.
At Garfield,
any high school.
Garfield, when you walk out the door, you walk out onto their utility field. So
all the athletic programs. So just so I'm just trying to I'm asking some tough questions.
They all at least have a utility field that all the kids can play on.
So if I'm a student at a high school in Seattle, I can expect when it's time for soccer practice, I can go out and practice on a field at my school.
Correct.
And so that has been paid for through a levy system with Seattle voters, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So if you're new to this argument, because we're going to get into the weeds here in a minute, at every public high school in Seattle, they are funded through levies for extracurriculars. And so the school has a budget for the campus, all right? You got a building, you got maintenance, you got teachers, you got books, etc. But when it comes for things like sports, typically they put that on a levy, and the people of Seattle vote, and it goes through your property taxes. So you say, for every $1,000 of my property tax, I'm going to say, give me an extra 22 cents, and that's going to go to fund these special projects. So for every public high school in Seattle, we're not talking about the private Catholic schools, we're talking about the public schools, you should have a campus building, and it should have a basketball court that's indoors. Also on that basketball court, volleyball plays there. There typically is a wrestling room where the wrestlers can wrestle. We don't
have one.
A lot of times there is a weight room inside. On the outside, typically you're going to get a baseball field, a soccer field, and a football field. And then on those fields, you'll also get lacrosse will play there, softball plays on the baseball field, etc. But for every high school, that's standard issue. It's been paid for, it's been voted on, and for every high school, that's what is usually included.
And then
let's go to Lincoln High School. Yep. Lincoln High School is different, but it's different for a reason. The reason is Lincoln High School was built in the days of yore.
1906.
And it had a storied history. There are very famous people that went to Lincoln High School.
Lincoln went to Lincoln High School.
And so why did Lincoln, and back in the day, Lincoln owned property and operated property around the school, correct?
All the schools did, yeah.
So the Lincoln High School had these things I just described around the school.
Yep.
And then Lincoln High School got shut down. Why was it shut down?
Busing failed. They were busing kids
in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and they stopped busing kids. So you saw things like in Magnolia, you saw that school shut down. Some of the condos that you see at the top of Queen Anne that were all schools that they bus kids to, they actually closed those schools, sold those schools. Our friend Ann Premner lives in one of them.
Correct.
We've sold condos there before. Lincoln, they felt like, you know what? One day, we know this neighborhood's going to grow. We're going to hang on to it. So they hung on to it for 40 years, and actually some pretty famous movies have been filmed inside Lincoln.
So the buildings were maintained by Seattle Public Schools.
Yes.
What happened to the fields, the land around the building in the 70s and 80s?
Typically what happens is you see parks around there. So you see a park that's catty corner.
Was it always a park?
No, that park used to be attached to Lincoln. Kids used to play in that park.
Okay.
What happened is when they mothball the schools, somebody has to take care of the park.
Right.
Who's going to take care of the park? Well, Seattle Parks could take care of the park, and Seattle Park says, "Well, if you give us the park and we're gonna maintain the park, we have to create. We don't get enough money from the levy because they get levy money also to take care of the park. We don't get enough money to take care of all the fields that we've been given by Seattle Public Schools. We have to rent the fields out." So at Cleveland, when we took that walk with the boys and we went to a park and adults were playing there, go by Green Lake, you see a lot of adults playing there. Go by Ingram, which is a public school. Oftentimes you'll see adults playing there. What happens is when the kids aren't there, the fields around here are leased out to public parks to adults in order to maintain the stadiums and the parks and the fields.
Let me ask you. Were these chunks of land adjacent to Lincoln High School officially separated and sold off? And was there a moment where city officials or whoever said, these are no longer connected to Lincoln? We are officially selling them or gifting them or no longer associating them with the school?
That park was disconnected from Lincoln, yeah. No longer. Seattle Parks is now in control of this field.
And so the parks took control of the field, and they said, this field is no longer connected to Lincoln, even though it's right next door. We're operating this field. So time goes by. And for those of you that I know we're taking a while to do this, but it's important. So the population of children in Seattle was on the decline back in the 70s and 80s because people were leaving the city to go to the east side, go up to Everett, go to a lot of bedroom communities, and there just weren't a lot of teenagers in the city of Seattle to support all the schools. Then when the tech boom happened, you started seeing a lot of people move back to the city. And so you had teenager population was starting to grow. So the SPD came to the conclusion, we need to reopen Lincoln High School. We're going to take a bunch of money. We're going to renovate the school. We're going to bring it up to modern code, modern standards. We're going to refurbish the classrooms. We're going to get new desks and computers in there. We're going to put a new roof on, whatever you had to do, upgrade the electrical. This thing's going to be ready to open. When did Lincoln High School reopen to the first class in decades?
7 years ago.
Okay, so 7 years ago, freshmen came in, went through there, and you had a new graduating class, even though their parents probably weren't even alive with the last time there was a graduating class. So I imagine that first year, they also tried to mount athletic teams.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you had freshman teams. Where did they practice?
Many of them have to practice at fields that are, let's say, if you're playing soccer, you'll probably have to go over to Green Lake. If you're playing,
why can't I walk across the street to the park that's across the street?
That particular park, especially during COVID, was taken over by dogs. The people of that neighborhood walk their dogs there, even though it's not a dog park. They've created a dog park there, and they don't want to give that. They don't want to give that park back because it belongs because their dogs take a shit there.
If I was a head of the soccer team, you're telling me that I cannot go to Seattle Parks and say, we would like to practice across the street from the school from 3:30 to 4:30
Correct.
every weekday.
Correct.
They say, no, you can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
Okay, so same for football, same for track, so we can't use that field. Where's the next closest field?
For football, we bus all the way up to Ingram. It's 90 blocks. It's 25, 30 minutes in a bus. Sometimes it's 40 minutes.
And so then...
And many of the teams have to bus to other facilities. Or we used to bus to Memorial, and now Memorial is shut down because they're rebuilding Memorial.
How many other public high schools in the Seattle public school system do not have a field like we just described?
None.
So zero. Okay, so then what's the next big event that happens? So 7 years ago, the school opens. They don't have a field. They're trying to create new athletic department. Freshmen start trying out for teams the next year. So 6 years ago, now you got freshmen and sophomores. And then pretty soon you got varsity, JV, and freshman teams. But they're young. They have no real athletic history. What's the next big event that happens because we're going to interview the coach next. I want people to have an idea of what to look for.
4 years ago, the 2022 levy. And in that levy, they decided some of the stadiums that you see like at Roosevelt or some of the stadiums that you see at Ingram or Ballard or Nathan Hale, that those stadiums need to be redone. Also, Memorial Stadium needed to be redone, so they passed a levy, and within that levy, there was $5.1 million given to Lincoln High School to refurbish and build a field.
So there was a 2022 initiative put on the ballot.
Yep.
The voters in Seattle,
81% of them voted and said yes.
voted to pass it, to voluntarily increase their own property taxes.
Correct, yeah.
The money then, it passed.
Passed, yep.
And so what happened then? Did they...
All the stadiums have been refurbished, most of them. The Memorial Stadium is almost rebuilt now. 2027, it'll be done. As far as Lincoln High School goes, nothing.
So nothing has been done there. So now you are going to talk to the coach about an initiative from the students and from parents to try and basically force the hand of Seattle Public Schools and the Parks Department to comply with the $5 million that was sent out. And then finally, though, what is the opposition saying? So if I'm on the other side of this, and here's what I guess I would say if I was on the other side: hey, this has been a community park for 30 years, 40 years. We don't want to give it back. We like having a park here in our neighborhood. Sorry, you guys didn't have to reopen this school. You shut it down.
Yeah.
You gave us the park. It's now our park.
Fair.
Go away.
That's fair. Those people should be heard. There's been lots of community meetings. I've been there. They've all been heard. They have been heard. And in fact, they do most of the talking. They've done most of the talking at these community meetings. What happens with parents at Lincoln, if their kid needs a field, sometimes they leave this field and they go to O'Day or they go somewhere else, transfer to Roosevelt somewhere. Or sometimes it just wears you out. And by the time your kids graduate, like we have a woman by the name of Kelsey that's working with us, because we have a group now that we put together. We're having a meeting this Saturday that we're going to talk about, where we expect lots of kids and parents. Her kids have all graduated from Lincoln. It's so important to her. I'm going to read her letter here in a moment. She has now come back to our group to try to get this field built for future generations. My son will never play on this field, Ron. I am not, I could cry. I am not doing this for my son. I will continue. I paid $25,000 in buses last year. Thank God I could pay $25,000 because of Cleveland, there wasn't $25,000 for those buses. So we'll continue to do that as parents. We'll continue to find a way, and our kids will have a ton of grit because of that. But I'm doing that for the 8, the 9, the 10, the 11, the 12, the 13-year-old kid that's at McClure Middle School right now. Or I'm doing that for the child that's at John Hay, or that's at there are 16 feeder schools that all feed into Lincoln. It's the biggest school right now in Seattle with the smallest facility. They don't even have a boys' locker room. There's not a locker room for the boys or the girls. There's a bathroom that they kind of share. There's not a place for the wrestlers to wrestle. The wrestling mat I bought them last year the reason why they need a new wrestling mat, because they have to roll it up every night so then the cheerleaders can come out in the same space. So we'll find a way, but this is for the future kids that are going to play on this field. I'm going to coach this year for the next 2 years. I'll never coach on this field. My son will never play on the field. But this is for future generations of kids. And if we really believe in kids' mental health, if we really believe that the phones have stolen their souls and we want to get their souls back, we have to find a place for them to play. Let me read Kelsey's letter.
And then we have an interview with the coach next.
Yeah. Let me read Kelsey's letter here real quick. Let me find it. And Kelsey's kids all went to Lincoln. And here it is. Kelsey writes, as a Lincoln parent, I'm asking for something to be clear, something to be decisive, and for action to be taken when it comes to Lincoln Field. Since Lincoln reopened in 2019, our students have been waiting for a field and a track of their own. They've waited long enough. I've done the math for my whole family. My football player has spent an estimated 13,200 minutes. That's 220 hours, the equivalent of 33 full school days just riding on a bus to and from the practice fields. That doesn't include games, which require even longer travel because Lincoln is the only high school in Seattle without a home field. And football isn't the only sport. My kids participate in soccer, track and field, and also in ultimate. And the story is the same. Bus rides, logistics. Sometimes the buses don't show up. Lost time, late dinners, homework squeezed into exhausted evenings. This is a time they should be training, studying, resting, or simply being a child. And the bus time is just one visible example of a larger inequality and inequity. Lincoln athletes also navigate seasons without dedicated locker rooms. They don't have an equipment room. They don't have an on-site trainer's office, and they don't have a true home field advantage. Everywhere they go, we're always the visitor. Lincoln's the only high school in Seattle without its own dedicated field and track. This is an equity issue, plain and simple. Voters approved funding for the project back in 2022, and the community has already said yes. And yet years later, we're still talking while no physical progress is being made at Woodland Park or in the community for a track, a field, nothing. And yet there are so many obstacles, it seems. Imagine what they could do, our kids could do, if they only had their own facilities. The goal right now must be simple, and we must coalesce around one clear course of action and one idea. We ask you to pass the plan, honor the levy, stop the delays, and Lincoln students have waited long enough. And then I want to read a portion of another letter real quick from a woman by the name of Dorothy, who's been kind of leading this whole thing. She's had 4 kids go to Lincoln. She wrote the superintendent because the superintendent wasn't planning on being at our meeting on Saturday. Someone told me this morning that he wants the emails to stop, and we let him know in order for the emails to stop that he must attend this meeting on Saturday. My understanding is he's coming to the meeting now. I just got a note. Dorothy writes, Dear Ben, we met at the Community Developers Roundtable earlier this week at WAC. I'm writing as a parent of 4 Lincoln High School students. I'll ask you the same question that I asked you on Monday. How are you managing your team to get this project finished? 4 years after voters approved funding, Lincoln High School students still do not have a field. This is no longer a planning issue. It's a failure to execute. I recognize that you're new to Seattle Public Schools, and I appreciate your stated commitment to moving this project forward. However, from the community's perspective, there's a significant gap between that commitment and the execution that we're seeing on the ground. You are new to SPS, but the team responsible for delivering this project is not. Under the leadership of Richard Best and the capital projects and the planning team, the process has become stalled, it's unclear and unaccountable. As a preview meeting yesterday, led by project manager Paige McAhee, for the April 25th community meeting that's coming up this Saturday. Number one, there's no clear timeline. There's no defined decision criteria. There's no accountability for when and how a final plan will be selected. Number two, project leadership has been unable to clearly present basic comparisons between options, budget schedule, design takeoffs, which are essential for informed decision making. Number three, critically, the ultimate decision makers, including yourself and Michelle Finnegan from Seattle Parks and Recreation, they say you're not going to attend this upcoming event on April 25th. That's outrageous. Most concerning, Seattle Public Schools has already hired a professional firm, Shields, Oblitz, and Johnson, to design and deliver this project. Yet you are allowing community groups to advance alternative plans that are not even viable. While Paige is not empowered to say so publicly, she has made clear in private that these alternative options are much more costly and would take 5 to 7 more years to complete. Everyone behind the scenes knows there's only one viable option that fits within the budget and can be delivered in the next few years, yet leadership continues to delay action. Almost done here. Continuing to elevate these proposals rather than relying on the professionals that you hired is causing unnecessary delay. This appears to be driven by Richard Best's reluctance to make a decision out of concern for the community pushback and for lawsuits. That concern is misplaced. The community is already upset because nothing is getting done. Lincoln families, including experienced executives who manage complex projects for a living, what we're seeing here would not be acceptable and it would not be tolerated in any professional setting. There's no clear scope. There's no decision framework. There's no accountability leadership driving this outcome. Students are being asked to show up again on April 25th for yet another meeting without any indication that it will lead to action. That is not meaningful. That's not engagement. And it's a process without progress. So we are asking for the following immediately. 1, a firm decision timeline following the April 25th meeting. 2, clear published criteria for selecting the final plan. 3, direct involvement from you and decision makers at upcoming meetings, including this Saturday. And 4, a commitment to rely on professional analytics and stop advancing non-viable alternatives. Lincoln students have already waited 7 years since school reopened, 4 years since taxpayers approved funding. They should not be asked to wait another 5 to 7 years because of your indecision and because of adults kicking the can on kids. This project needs leadership. We are committed to partnering with you to get this done, but we need to see decisive action, and we need accountability right now. Sincerely, Dorothy Graham, and she currently has 4 kids at Lincoln High School, including one that plays football with my son, Little Jack. Sorry for getting so emotional, but man, and again, this is, I see what these kids go through. I see what it's like. And I'll just end with this. This year, my son wrestled, and we were at another school, and it was senior night, and it was time to say goodbye to all of our seniors. And we're over at Seattle Prep. We don't have a facility to say goodbye to our seniors. It was also senior night for Seattle Prep. Seattle Prep came over, and these kids put out the red carpet for our kids and their parents. And they said, you guys go first. And so they had a senior night at another school. And the kids from Seattle Prep, they waited for their senior night so our kids could have theirs. Kids only have so many minutes and moments, especially in high school. These are COVID kids, and we have to do better. The money is there. Sure, there's going to be pushback from the community. We understand the community, but now it's time to make a decision. And again, I didn't want to get involved, but I'm more involved than ever. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Coach Packard. And we'll talk more about Lincoln. And don't forget, this meeting is coming up. Hamilton Middle School on the 25th, this Saturday. And we'll see everybody there at 10 o'clock. See you on the other side of this.
Hey, we're happy we have a brand new sponsor here on the Ron and Don Show. It's Team Lisa with Origin Point Financing. She's a mortgage broker. When is the right time to refinance your loan?
You can never time the market, right? Everybody always wants the lowest rate, and you know what? Nobody knows. We usually don't know it was the lowest rate until it's gone. But in general, there's some benchmarks that we look at. So if you plan to stay in your home for 2 years and you can save 0.5% or more, then it's generally worth a refinance. Sometimes a little bit less time if the lender's willing to pay the cost.
So if I was 7.5 and it's at 6 now, that's a good time to start calling Team Lisa with a Y.
That's a great time to call Team Lisa with a Y.
If that's you and you're thinking, hey, maybe I should refinance, reach out to Lisa. That's teamlisawithany.com and tell her Ron and Don sent you.
If you have a friend that is ready to start their real estate journey, send them to ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. As promised, Coach is here. Yeah, we call him Coach around Lincoln High School. Welcome, so good to have you.
Thank you.
And Ron and I, we talked about you in the first segment, and basically that there's something that is going on at Lincoln High School that our audience is very familiar with because it happened at Cleveland High School as well. So let's talk a little bit about Lincoln High School. Lincoln High School, I think, was born in Seattle. It's the oldest high school. I did some research here, Coach. I think it was 1906, 1907. And then for some reason, well, I know the reason, a number of years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago, this would be, 4 or 5 decades ago, the school was mothballed. I know that they tried busing here in the city of Seattle. And what happened when they stopped busing is they didn't have enough students for Lincoln. And they also didn't have enough students for some of the schools that are out in Magnolia. So what Seattle Public Schools did is they said, hey, you know what we're going to do is we're going to hang on to these schools. We're going to mothball them. But some of the problems issues that they had with some of the schools, and not just Lincoln and not just out here in Magnolia, but many of them, a lot of the schools were attached to parking lots and to fields. They didn't have anyone to take care of the parking lots and fields, and they said, what are we going to do? That's where Seattle Public Park steps in, Seattle Parks, because they said, you know what? If you'll let us rent these fields out to adults, that will help us offset, and we'll come in and we'll run these fields for you, right? So a lot of these schools that initially had fields or parking lots, those went away, and then Seattle Park stepped in and said, we'll manage this. And I don't think a lot of people know that. They have a very big budget. They have I think it's over 500 parks here that they take care of. And so our hats off to them. And a lot of times when you go by, like, for instance, over at Green Lake, and you go by the park over there, you'll see adults playing softball in the field there. They've paid $11 to play that game of softball or kickball or whatever it is. So anyway, fast forward, Cleveland High School a number of years ago, Ron and I are working at Kyle Radio. My friend Nolan, and you've met Nolan.
Yep.
Nolan used to play at WSU. He calls me. He's a state trooper, and I was helping him out with some finance stuff. And he said, hey, I need your help. And I said, what's going on? He said, I'm coaching at this high school down at Cleveland High School. And we understand that there's supposed to be some money to fix a field down here and build a field for these kids. And we know the field was built at Ballard, and we know the field was built at Roosevelt because there was levy money for that. But there's also levy money at the time for Cleveland High School. We found out they just didn't build it. And the superintendent at the time didn't seem to care about it. His name was Larry Nyland. So we went on air, and we went for it at Kyle Radio. And 7.5 years later, we made sure that field got built. And what we noticed is the money had been set aside, the voters had voted, and adults had failed. Seattle Parks had failed these kids, and also the superintendent. I blame it on the superintendent and the school board because they could have stepped in and they didn't. So we stepped in, and what do you know? 9 months later, the field ends up getting built, and you can drive by Cleveland High School now when you're going up I-5, and you'll see their field. It's a beautiful field. Fast forward 2022. There's a number of fields that need to be repaired. One of those is Roosevelt. Another one is Ballard. And also, we know Memorial Stadium, because sometimes Lincoln, a couple of years ago, would play their home games there. Memorial Stadium, there was a levy that gave Memorial Stadium enough money to go ahead and fix Memorial Stadium. Memorial Stadium's almost done. It'll be completely done in 2027. I was over there the other day, and Memorial Stadium is going to be awesome. But Memorial Stadium is shared by everyone. It's a community stadium. So you might drive by there, and you might see some kids playing soccer or football, but you also might see a concert there, right? So it's shared here in the community, and we know the Lewicki brothers, who are part of the Kraken, have stepped in. They've thrown in money because they said, hey, we don't have enough money here to do it right. We want to make sure that we're going to do this right, and they're doing it right, and they're doing it for free, and they're going to manage it for free, which is really amazing that the Lewicki brothers are going to do that. Same levy in 2022. Over $5 million has passed for the largest high school in Seattle, which is Lincoln High School. Because even though it was mothballed for 40 years, when it came out of mothballs 7 years ago, all of a sudden, because of all the tech people that live here now, and they've all had kids and their kids grew up, there's almost 2,000 kids that go to this school. When I drop my son off at the school, you can't even move. It's the smallest facility. There are no fields. There's a very small parking lot, almost 2,000 kids. Compare that to other schools around like Garfield. They have, 15, 12, I think it's 1,000, 1,200 kids right in there. Other schools around here maybe have 1,000, 900. There's campuses are much bigger. They're all attached to fields. Many of them have multiple fields, girls, boys, utility fields. Lincoln has nothing. As a result of that, the football program, and we'll talk football here in a moment, how has that affected football? Because in the last 7 years, I've noticed as I've tried to help the program, there goes the coach, there goes the coach, there goes the coach, and they hired you, and everybody expected you last year to walk off the job, but here you are fighting for kids and fighting for this field.
Well, thanks, Don. I'm really happy to be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm the parent of 2 future Lynx. I live in Queen Anne. This is what I want to do. I want to make this better for everyone coming up, including my own. That's why I'm not going anywhere. But you're right. in 6-7 years, I'm the third head coach. And I'm not the only other sport that has a rotating door of coaches too. The challenges that face us from a logistics standpoint are very paramount, and they're completely inequitable against everybody else. We are the only school in SPS, as you said, without a practice field. We have to go 90 blocks to practice for football. Track does the same. For football and track, when we get done, it is 9 o'clock at night. We have to go on Ingram's fields after them, along with being bused or drive themselves. Or sometimes, do buses show up? They don't. No matter how good we do about our paperwork, we may not have a bus. So then we're all left scrambling. How easy would it be for us to just walk out of our school in our attendance area and practice and have the same as everyone else?
Yeah.
It'd be incredible.
Yeah. So there's been meetings. What's been happening at these meetings? And I see it as the can really getting kicked down the road on kids. The can's being kicked on kids. I've gone to 4 of these meetings now. What have you seen at these meetings? What have you witnessed?
Seeing quite a bit of opposition, whether it be a small interest group or a community who is tired of certain construction going on. And that's all fair. And
That is
everyone,
fair. Yeah.
everyone should have a voice.
They should.
But at some point, you have, including Hamilton across the street, almost 3,000 students that are always there every day with no fields for PE, for any activity, for the band to practice, from ultimate frisbee to club sports, everything. Those 3,000 students do not have a field to participate in those activities.
Yeah. We were just at a coaching clinic. There were thousands of coaches there. Every time we told a coach about this, it blew their mind, and we couldn't find any other coach in the country that was facing what we're facing. Not one other coach, could we?
No, not one.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, when you have to bus all the way up to Ingram, it's about 25, 30 minutes up, 25, 30 minutes back. As you said, sometimes the buses don't show because there's just not a bus driver. And if there's not a bus driver, then there's not a bus, and you're standing there waiting to go to a game. And the other thing is, the kids up at Ingram, they don't like when the kids from Lincoln show up and take over their field. So sometimes practice may go a little long, and other times lights may get turned off at the stadium a little earlier, especially the week that we're playing Ingram, right?
It just so happened.
I don't blame Ingram for that. So let's talk a little bit about the opposition. What is the opposition, and why are people pushing back? I was just at a Seattle Parks meeting. The people at the Parks meeting after 4 years acted like they didn't know anything about this. They really didn't talk to us. They were more concerned about timing us and us having our 2 minutes. But there was a guy named Eric that called in and that said, hey, if it doesn't go his way, he's ready to sue. What's going on with suing and kids and fields and all that? I don't get it.
I mean, we have everything from environmental issues. There are some that don't want turf to replace grass. Some don't want traffic or an increased amount of traffic. You have tree complexities, cross-country events. There is just an inevitable amount of change that may happen. But that change isn't paramount. It's just a restructuring of how we have to accommodate more students and more active play fields for those coming up after
And this
us.
is a community field, right?
Community field.
Adults are going to have a chance to play on this field.
Yeah.
So is there, I went down the city the other day to see if there was a location pick. Doesn't seem like there is. I looked to see if there's a feasibility study because Ron and I build stuff. There is no feasibility study. And the people down there that would build this field and help build it, because I know them, because they built Cleveland, they don't even know about it. I know Andy knows about it because I know Andy. I saw him at the meeting. He'll help get the field built. But talk to me a little bit about that. Is there even a location here?
There's a couple different locations. Last year we talked about Wallingford Playfield, and that unfortunately the community wasn't into that, threatened lawsuits. The city council member for Wallingford got on the community side, so that one started to get shelved, or I should say shelved completely. Then they started looking at Green Lake. And you have options where Field 2, which is the field on the south side, just outside of the left field of the varsity baseball field.
Yep.
They want to take that one, and that currently runs east-west, and they want to demo it and do 2 side-by-side going north-south. That's option A.
Yep.
Okay, and that one is probably the fastest one that can happen, but it does push out into the parking lot a little bit and then cuts down and takes away some of the trail and the trees and pushes up against the BMX bikes jump. So you have some complexity.
And it pushes up against all the derelict RVs that are parked down there as well.
That too.
And we wouldn't want all the tents where people are living in the park across the street from the school. We wouldn't want those people disturbed either.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The other options that have been looked at is up 50th, a little bit towards Aurora, there is the gravel parking lot. That has some options where another field can be built, either a full-size field or a smaller one. But it has some definite land changes, right? We have to get in there and gravel. We have to level, retaining wall, and cut down 72 trees, all replace 3 to 1. So you just have an upper level of complexity, and the zoo might want to have some say. So you're just increasing your level of who might comment and have some feedback, if you will.
Yeah. So this isn't a big stadium like you would see at Ingram or Ballard or Roosevelt. This is just a utility field, and really you're making improvements for not only the kids to play there, but also for adults to play there, which we see at Green Lake all the time.
I think this is a really important piece when we talk about traffic and the amount of potentially increased bodies going to the parks. This is a practice field only. Okay, in SPS, there are 5 contest fields. Memorial when it's back, Ingram, Nathan Hale, Rainier Beach, and Chief South. Those are the only ones designated for contests. So there is no Friday night lights happening at Green Lake. This is practice for all the activities that happen at Lincoln, probably some and shared use with Hamilton. That's what it's for. And then the adults and other renters after that.
Yeah. We got a new superintendent. What's the new superintendent? What's Ben saying about this?
Ben's been great and gracious and heard us out. And I think we have the opportunity for him to get a win. But we got to make sure that he's there, and we invited him. We hope he shows up to all of our conversations. But I'd say he's been not publicly outward talking about this. He's been more concerned about academics, understandably. But I think it's time that he's here, and we need to get going, and he needs to be aware of what he can do right now in his new role.
All right, Coach Packard is here on the Ron and Don Show. Talk to us a little bit. You guys have something coming up this Saturday. What's happening on Saturday? What can we expect?
So Saturday, 10 o'clock at Hamilton Middle School, we have a community meeting. It's the 4th or 5th one. We got to get out there. We have to show up. We have to let everyone know that we stand as a community that we want to feel.
Yeah.
It's time. The money's been voted on. It's been approved, and it's time to support these kids.
So the school's been open 7 going on 8 years without a field. They opened the school not having the field. So it's not really even been 4 years. It's been longer than that. They've had the $5.1 million in the levy. Like where is that money right now?
You're good. Your guess is as good as mine, right? It's got to be sitting there earmarked for something.
Because 80% of the taxpayers I know said yes to that levy. They always say yes to kids. That's the thing I love about Seattle. There's some things that drive me nuts, but people here always say yes to kids. So 4 years ago, over 80% of the taxpayers said yes to places like Memorial Stadium. They said yes to let's go ahead and fix Roosevelt Field. At least they have a field to fix. Yeah. And they said yes to let's create something or fix something for the kids at Lincoln. Now, the biggest high school in Seattle, and we currently have nothing. I know this weekend, because I wrote a letter to the superintendent, invited him to attend, and the word is he's not attending. And the word is they're going to do what they did last time, where they don't really want to have a public discussion because they're afraid that people are going to threaten to sue. I would say at this point, the best thing is someone should sue. And if they don't sue, then I'm going to jump in and sue. Someone needs to sue. Suing is a good thing. We always hear it say, this can be a good thing because, as you just said, people in the community have the right to be heard, but they've been heard. Like, they're all over the internet. They have matching bandanas. We get it. You don't want to feel it's not in my house, and you don't want kids playing in your neighborhood. We get it. But you're the one that moved next to a high school. I didn't. And you moved next to a high school maybe when it was mothballed, but you knew that Seattle Public Schools still owned that, and they were going to open that again at some point. So tough shiznit, right? And Hamilton and Lincoln together, those are the top 5 public schools. Those are 10 out of 10. I mean, they function almost like private schools. The education in there is so good. But when it comes to kids' mental health, and in fact, Coach, we just saw Meta get their broke on Capitol Hill. They got their you-know-what's busted because they've created a device that's addicted to children and kids. And what we're trying to do and you're trying to do is pull kids away from this. And if you're not watching on YouTube, we're trying to pull them away from that phone and give them great spaces and safe places in order to build memories, right? And
Absolutely.
Connection and mental health. This is really what it's all about. And we can always, if we take a tree down, I guarantee kids from Lincoln and kids from McClure and kids from Hamilton will come over and we'll plant 3 or 4 or 5 trees for every tree that needs to be taken down, if a tree needs to be taken down. But this really does come down to mental health. I hope Ben understands that. Last time I heard, he wasn't coming to this meeting. I think it's really important that he does. It seems like the community on this one is really riled up. Something needs to happen. If something needs to go to court, let's go, because then a judge can say, hey, okay, we've heard from the students, we've heard from coaches, we've heard from the community, we've heard from people that said, hey, not in my backyard, I don't want the light. We get all that, but then a judge gets to make a summary judgment, make a decision, and then we can go forward, because the taxpayers have already made a decision. You can't just sit there and $5.1 million and not do anything with it. So is he coming on Saturday? Do we know?
We don't know yet, but we'll see. I think we're making ourselves loud and clear and putting that invite out there that he should be there and hear us out. And I think it would be in his best interest if he did.
Yeah. Couple big jobs just came open in the city. And I heard through the grapevine that you were offered or being considered for some of these coaching jobs, but you still have the L on. I have great admiration for that. Why is that?
Because this is where I live. This is where I want to better. And I want everyone to have the same opportunity I had when I was coming up as a kid on the east side, where everybody's got a field and everyone's got acres of land. And we deserve to provide that to our kids.
Yeah.
They deserve to have the same experience and the same thing we had when we came up, and that's what I want to provide my community.
It's interesting. I was putting up some signs in my neighborhood the other day. In fact, I had grabbed some signs from you, and I was putting one up. And there was a woman outside. And you don't run into people that have graduated from Lincoln much because there's this big 40-year gap, right? But she had graduated in 1966, so I wasn't even born yet, which made me feel really good. And she already had 4 or 5 protest signs in her front yard. She had it all going on. And when she saw me handing those out, she said, are you from Lincoln? I said, I'm just, I volunteer there. I volunteer with the football program. She goes, are those protest signs? And I said, yeah, I guess they are. They're talking about this meeting that we're having on Saturday. And so I filled her in on the story. And she goes, oh, you give me one of those. And she said, I'll be there. Her name is Ruth. Ruth said that she'd be there on Saturday. Another gentleman saw me putting up some signs, and he stopped. And it was his son that was driving him. And he was on his way to a medical appointment. And he was sitting in the front seat, and he had graduated. He was part of the class of 75. And so he was so glad to see that something was happening for this school. So I think there's a lot of people, even a lot of older alumni out there that are out in the community. And man, we want them to come too. We want everyone to come to support kids. And I want to make sure too that there's people that think differently, then they are heard as well. I think that's important, but then a decision needs to be made, and Ben needs to make that decision. And if the school or parks ends up getting sued, that's just part of it. That government gets sued all the time, and if they don't sue, then I'm going to have to sue, because we have to get this field built. We just have to get it done. We got it done at Cleveland. I think we can get it done at Lincoln too. So this Saturday, which is the 25th, 10 o'clock, and it's going to go from 10 to 11:30. We invite people to bring signs, come and be heard, come and be civil, because like Lincoln, we believe in being a unifier, but we also believe in civil wars. He believed in a civil war because it was the right thing to do, and so do we. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thank you. This was great.
How's the program looking this year?
Program's great. We're going into year 2, building on last year and doing all the right things foundationally. And I think I couldn't be more excited for the trajectory we have.
Yeah. All right. Well, as long as we have cool gear to wear. How's number 62 looking this year?
He's looking pretty good.
Deadlifting 285 pounds.
Just make sure you keep feeding him.
Oh man, he had 2 sandwiches on his plate this morning. And then I gave him a little chat last night about probably where he needs to be to play the position he wants to play. And I opened up his lunchbox today, and then I looked in the refrigerator. There was nothing left in my refrigerator. It's all in his lunchbox. And I said, and I looked at him and I go, "Are you really going to eat all this today?" He goes, "Well, if I don't eat it all today, Dad, there's always tomorrow."
Long-term plan.
Coach Packard, thanks for being here. Thanks for what you do for kids. Thanks to all the coaches out there.
Absolutely.
These coaches don't get paid much, and yet they're investing their blood, sweat, and tears in our children, and it really does make a difference, and it pulls them away from that phone and that computer screen. And I understand there's people in the community that don't want to be around kids or bright lights at night, but I don't even think – this is not a stadium. This is just a practice field. I don't even know if there are bright lights at night. So let's be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We'll see everybody at Hamilton Middle School. You can look online where that's at. We'll see you at 10 o'clock, and we love for everyone to come. All right? He's Coach Packard, Lincoln High School. We will see you on the other side of this.
Thanks for being a part of the Ron and Don Nation. Subscribe to the Nation News at ronanddonsitdown.com. A behind-the-scenes look at everything Ron and Don.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. Don't forget, if you need us, just go to ronanddonsitdown.com. Thanks to Coach Packard from Lincoln High School for sitting down with us. Thing is, I can't believe that he's still around coaching, because when you have to bus kids all the way up to Ingram High School, which is 30 minutes north, then you have to wait. Sometimes they wait there between 6 and 7 o'clock on another field, and they just stretch out. You have to wait for the Ingram boys to get done. And then you get to go out there and practice, and then as soon as 9 o'clock comes around, they turn the stadium lights off. So, and he said they get done at 9. Gunnar gets home like 9:40, 9:50, and he's up at 5 o'clock doing his homework in the morning. So he's up at 5. And then doing homework. Then we get to school. They don't get out to 3:45. He's still at school. And then they do weights, film, a quick study hall, and then it's a bus ride all the way up. So
the thing that I thought about, which is not for every kid, but if you did have aspirations, you and I both in high school had aspirations of possibly playing at the next level. And we have friends that played in college sports. And so mine was a long shot. I think you probably could have played easier than I did. If you're thinking of that nowadays as a kid when you're in junior high and you start getting recruited, like for, let's say, basketball, or you're getting recruited for football, you're getting people that are looking at you saying, hey, you're an outstanding player, why would you go to Lincoln? Mm-hmm. Because the chances of playing in college at Lincoln are already stacked against you. I'm going to go, if I'm the parent of a kid where I was like, hey, my kid could be a college quarterback. My kid could be a college football player and get a full ride somewhere.
We're talking soccer players for the girls. We're talking baseball.
Track,
we're talking lacrosse.
Like any sport.
All those.
Like, hey, my kid's in the top 10 for juniors in sprinting.
There's not 237 kids went out for track. We don't even have a track.
So why would I go to Lincoln? I might move into a different school district. Seriously, because like nowadays with kids in sports, and you look at the astronomical money that you can make if you make it all the way to the professionals in really any of the major sports. And again, not something that you really want to bank on, but there are families and athletes that make decisions about that, and your program gets a lot of exposure. When you have a state championship team in softball and basketball and football, it brings a lot of enthusiasm and community support together. I think, like, look at when the Seahawks won the world championship, and you had 1 million people show up with no violence. People are high-fiving. People are embracing each other from different strata and economic classes and different races and religions. And it's one of the things in modern life that is a positive. So for kids, you want to feel like even if you're never going to make it to college or the pros, you want to feel like you could. You want to go to, like, at the time I was a delusional 15-year-old. I thought I could have been a professional athlete. And the people around me were like, hey, work hard. We have a program. There were people that went to our school that did play in the pros. And so you looked at it and said, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And even though I never did it, it was there. When you're at Lincoln and you literally have no place to practice, I think that the top athletes that may be in your district are going to go, why? I don't know if I wanted to go to Lincoln.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Our last game of the year was against Blanchette last year, and they have like 120 boys on their football program. It's immense, and they have a really good quarterback. And I was watching them play, and I was doing some volunteer just camera stuff. This year, I'm actually going to go coach. And I got talking to one of the parents there, and his son was the QB for Blanchette, and he explained to me that very thing. He goes, he would be playing quarterback for you guys, and he said there's probably 40 other kids on our team that would be playing at Lincoln, but the reason that they're here is, and it's not because Lincoln you don't get a great education, because you do, it's because you have no fields. And they want to play baseball. They want to play lacrosse. They want to run track. They want to play soccer. In order to do that, you got to have a field. O'Day and Eastside Catholic, they have a heyday because they come. We'll play O'Day and Eastside Catholic this year, and you'll look over at that sideline, and you'll see kids that are standing on their sideline that have been given scholarships to those private schools, and they would be standing on your sideline with your kids, and you'd be coaching these kids from the neighborhood. And they've recruited your kids so you don't have the possibility. And I had mentioned that to my son. And in fact, at this rally, we're going to have 100 T-shirts on that say "Linked for Life" on the back. And I shared this story before. And I said, hey, Joe from the grocery store up the street went to O'Day. They're interested in knowing, did you want to wrestle or play football at O'Day? And he got really mad at me. And he just looked at me and he goes, and this is when he still called me Daddy. He goes, Daddy, I'm a Links for Life. And so we have made these T-shirts that now say "Linked for Life." And I got to tell you, I was going to stay out of this after the Cleveland thing. The Cleveland thing just wore me down, getting that field built. But I remember being in that locker room at halftime, and I was a volunteer there, and promising those boys that, and I said to them, I said, most of you are never going to play at that field. But if you're a freshman here, we're going to get this field built, and you're going to play on this field, so just hang in there. But it really wears you down. Like, dealing with government really wears you down. And on this Lincoln thing, I was just going to stay out of it, and I can't.
Here's my final take on this. Is I get, as a guy with no kids, I understand what it's like to enjoy parks. Like, I love to walk. I'm out walking all the time. It's great to have trails and parks and walkways, and I totally understand that. But if you're going to say no, and you're going to be on team no, then what is your solution? So if you have no other solution than just no, I think that's illegitimate, because I pay tons of taxes all the time, knowing that a lot of it is going to schools. I've never had a child attend a school, but I've paid a lot of money into the school district
that you know
I know of.
That he knows.
And so I've never had a child go to these schools, and yet I pay into the schools because I believe that having good schools is good for me, ultimately. I want to live in a community where we have good schools and kids get a good education and they have opportunities with robotics and the chess club and the glee club and the drama club and sports. And so if you're on team no, because you feel like, oh, I don't want the traffic, or I don't want people coming through, not in my backyard, what's your solution? So if you can't offer up an alternative and say, okay, I don't want the field here, I'm opposed to that for these reasons, but let's put the field there. Because just saying no and boxing out thousands of kids with their opportunity to have a place to go is just, it's philosophically bankrupt. You can't just say no and go, I just disagree with the premise. Okay, well, what's your solution then?
Yeah.
To shut the school back down? To not have children in our community? To just say, That's the part I don't get. I understand people that want to say no and preserve what they enjoy, but you can't just say no full stop. I think that's irresponsible to not at least go, well, let me consider the other side. If the other side is what Coach said, up to 3,000 kids across multiple schools, do you want a kid to never play? Do you want a kid to never run around? Do you want a kid to never kick a soccer ball?
You want to break it into your car?
Yeah. Do you want a kid that every child to never have the opportunity to go play catch with their friend or with their coach, never compete, never run 100 meters? Like, is that your plan? Say, okay, all kids should never do anything athletic. Don't go outside. I like trails, but they shouldn't. Stay in the school. Never come outside, never do anything. That is just a philosophically bankrupt and selfish point of view, in my opinion.
And all they're doing is just fixing some, like Seattle Parks really invites it because it'll make Green Lake better. And it takes the existing fields that are there, and it just makes them better.
And it's still not just
it's not a stadium. It's not,
and it's not like you're walking out of the parking. Like you and I grew up on a high school where you literally walked out of the social studies building, you went around the corner, and you're at the field.
And that's every other high school here in Seattle, and certainly on the east side. I mean, they all have that. Nathan Hale has 3 of those fields when you walk out, but that school didn't give its fields away.
I'm just saying, it's not like Green Lake is in the parking lot. Green Lake, you're still going to have to traverse.
Oh, these kids still, they'll still have to walk over there, and it's not like you're going to play a home game there. It's just it's a place, and then the teams will kind of have to vie for who gets to practice there, and then when they're not practicing, which is usually between 4 and 8. The rest of the day and on the weekend, adults are going to get to use that field in the same way that they use the field now. So I think the important thing is, and you say it's team no, if you're on team no, but 80% of the taxpayers disagree with you, and then we have this meeting because we've been having these meetings for 4 years, and Parks and Seattle Public Schools, the real reason why they haven't done anything is because they're afraid of this neighborhood organization and this certain gentleman. He called in when we were at the last time we were at Seattle Parks. I was there 4 weeks ago, and I walked in and I took a can, and they give you 2 minutes to talk. And I stood before the board, and I took the can, and I kicked the can as far as I could kick it. Because everybody that had went before, they're all sitting there. They're all sitting there in back of the chairs. Some of them are looking at their phones, not paying attention to anything that anyone else is saying. There are people that are calling in that are crazy, talking about crazy things. It's a board meeting, right? So it's a public board meeting. So when some of the parents that were there, and we got there to speak, there was no interaction. They had nothing to say about what we said other than they hadn't heard about this. Really, in 4 years, you haven't heard about this? And so I kicked that can, which got their attention, and I said, we're going to change the conversation. The conversation moving forward is that you, Seattle Parks, and the superintendent and the whole board at Seattle Public Schools, you are kicking the can on kids. So I'm going to tie that around your neck, both of you. You're kicking the can on kids. You're kicking the can on children. Anytime taxpayers in Seattle, and you probably voted on the 2022 levy, anytime you get a chance to vote for kids and do something for kids and children in the community, it's always a yes. You have these hearings. You let people come, do exactly what Ron just talked about, come and say no, move the field. They've done all that. Now you have to make a decision, and when you make the decision, you have to get ready for the lawsuit that is probably going to come. Someone's probably going to sue you. That's probably going to happen. It's just, if you're 4 years in and the real reason you haven't done it is because you're very intimidated about, there's one guy that is retired from Microsoft. He called in when I got done kicking the can and just said, if it didn't go his way, he was sharpening his pen. I don't know how you sharpen a pen. He was sharpening his pen and preparing his lawsuit. So that kind of iced the conversation. And then we're sitting there, and they moved on, and they said nothing to us. There was no response. So now there is a response because parents have gotten together. We have hundreds of signs out that say, stop kicking the can on kids. We've made T-shirts. Kids are going to show up in their uniforms. We're going to be civil, but we're ready for a war. We are Lincoln on this thing. We are unified, and we are civil, but we are ready for a war, and certainly ready for a lawsuit, because that's probably the way that this is going to go. But I really believe if you have a great attorney like Ann Bremner, if you get this before a judge, he's going to make a summary judgment. He's going to vote for kids. He's going to vote for the community and do what's right for the community. But you just can't sit there on $5.1 million and you haven't even done a feasibility study on any of these, any of the places that have been suggested, not even a feasibility study. You can't do that. So, hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We sure do appreciate it. If you need us, real estate has been busy. And we've been busy, but we're not so busy that we can't sit down with you, right?
Yeah, so go to ronanddonsitdown.com. You can book an appointment right there, or you can just email me directly, ron@ronanddon.com, and we can schedule it for you.
Yeah, so we'll see you Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. I'll be there. And then after that, I'm going to be out in Juanita at one of our newest listings. We have a home out there that we just refreshed. And it's on a buildable lot, has a lot of old growth trees. For some reason, though, the city of Kirkland, they're not like Seattle. They're like, yeah, if you're going to build new housing here, you can take some of those old growth trees down, do it in a thoughtful way. I'm really amazed on the east side how fired up they are about not just building housing, but what they call mid-housing, which Ron has talked about too. Coming up next on the real estate show, what are you going to be talking about?
We are talking about wealth building and their real estate and the stock market, because this continues to come out. And I have some statistics about how much people actually have in savings or at the ready right now if emergency happened that is going to shock you.
Oh, really?
It is going to shock everybody watching. It's incredible.
What if you're listening and not watching?
It will not shock you.
What if you're listening and watching?
That will shock you.
Okay. What if you're not listening or not watching?
It will not shock you.
Okay. Ron and Don, sitdown.com. If you want to sit down with us, we'll do it virtually. We've been doing that a lot this week. Did it with my friend Taylor last week, and then we're going to go do some house hunting. Great time to list a house this spring into the fall. And what's weird is even though the economy seems choppy, the real estate market here, everything that Ron and I have put on so far, I think we've sold. All except for...
so.
Yeah, everything's sold. So anyway, ronanddonsitdown.com. Find us on show. If you want to know more about Lincoln Field, find me on social media on Facebook or Instagram. I'm Don O'Neill. He's Ron Upshaw. Till next time, you keep your head up and your shoulders back. And don't forget that you've been listening to the Ron and Don Show all day on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Ron and Don Show. Please hit subscribe.